Hello and welcome to another book discussion. I'm excited to bring you our Way of Kings discussion. First off, some things we will not be talking about the final, anything other than the first book in the Way of Kings, in the Stormlight Archive, I mean, specifically the Way of Kings. It is full spoilers for the first book, so if you haven't read it, I would advise going and reading it before listening to this, because this will pretty much talk about everything. Anyway, I have brought two wonderful guests. Please welcome first.
You cut that off there. Hello, everyone.
It's
okay.
Yeah, partially because I switched to the guest entrances thing. So also, when I switch from one brand to another, it cuts it off.
Aww.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Anyway, welcome our second guest. Please welcome.
Yep, that's me.
Welcome,
Hello.
Becca. Well, this is going to be an interesting book to talk about and especially we're not really going to talk about the main character until near the end, at least in the way that I've structured this.
Okay, so keep gushing about Kaladin 2 later.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of the way that I structure things is kind of at least that I've structured things is putting the most important stuff toward more the end and kind of grouping it via location, because this is a huge book.
Yes, it is. And every other book except for 2.5 is just as big, if not bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. So, kind of opening thoughts and the prologue and the initial chapters. It's an interesting beginning to a series where you are getting a lot of words thrown at you very quickly. Heralds, desolations, a thunderclast. That's
Knights Radiant too, I think, is one of the terms in there.
It's just world building overload.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of world building right off the bat. And I actually like that.
Okay.
For me, it's more what the hell does this mean? The only way I'm going to find out is if I turn the page. So I'm going to turn the page. For some people, it's not like that. And I can kind of understand. Because I think the first 2-3 chapters talk about minor characters that are also really important. And we don't get to the main character until maybe chapter 2. I don't remember. There's a couple of different prologues in there.
Yeah, it's prelude.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, so basically the structure of the prologue goes like this, where first you have the aftermath of an insane battle where you have this what looks like a post-apocalypse happening, and then you have
It fast forward like an age, or
fast forward several thousand years into the future, and then
now we're following an assassin who's supposed to kill the king, and he succeeds.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of the best opening action scenes to a book ever.
Yes, it is.
It is really, really, really fantastic because
It is.
like it very well easily demonstrates one of the 10 magic systems that we're going to be experiencing this book, or no, technically one of the 30 magic systems in this book.
30? I knew there were at least 10, but 30?
It's because they've got like overlap, because there's like
yeah, they do
2 powers per person. So
yeah, there is. It is very, very, very interesting.
And the powers are connected to Spren, which is actually really interesting.
Yeah, to kind of explain to those who haven't yet read this book and are maybe needing some context, Spren are basically personified
concepts, I think, is the word you're looking for.
Yeah, concepts. Also, like
concepts
for instance,
and emotions.
Concepts and emotions, like an example of this is like a wind spren, is like this little girl that flitters around, does things. There's also like all of your emotions. Like when you feel something, it's a spren will come out, and it just looks weird. It looks like it looks very Hayao Miyazaki-ish, I guess, in terms of like how it's described, at least in my head.
Spoiler alert: she's not a wind spread. We'll get to that though.
I love that moment.
What?
That's a little bit later.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah,
We'll get to that.
Of course. Yeah, I think like this really like illustrates a couple of things. One, the magic system of the Windrunner type of magic, or at least like one of the types of magic that the Knights Radiant have, which is wind running. And that is basically you can stick things together and you can manipulate gravity.
Yes.
Which is really, really cool. But it's only up or down. It's only up or down.
No, it's not only up or down.
Well, it's to the side. Well, it's like you can manipulate gravity like around you, and even fly to a certain extent. But it's more like you're falling with style in the wrong direction.
Falling with style. I love it.
That wasn't flying. That was falling with style.
Yep. And of course, we see 2 different characters that can do this. One who's just learning how and he has to figure out how on his own because his wind spren can't really help him.
Yeah, Windspren seems to be helping him is able to help him out somewhat, but she's
amnesic.
Yeah, she's got a loss. She's got a little bit of a lack of memory there going on.
Yeah, so mostly it's just him experimenting with his group of buddies, I want to call them. We can get into what they actually are, and we'll get into what they actually are later, because that's dealing with the main character. But, yeah. So, the inciting incident is with Zeth? Yeah, Zeth.
Yes. Zeth.
And he's the Windrunner that actually knows what he's doing. So we get to
Yeah.
see what the main character is going to look like after he figures everything out.
I was going to say, like,
And-
Sorry.
And it's going to be absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. The one of the neat things about why do you think that Zeth doesn't seem to have a spren? Like, that's one thing that I've noticed, is Zeth doesn't have a spren. Why do you think that is?
Ooh, I never actually thought about that.
I never thought about it either, but it's
That's
like,
interesting.
he's got something different than what
Mhm.
main character has.
That is true.
Main character's got a spren, but Zeth has got
His oath stone thing.
yeah,
He's got an oath stone.
Yeah, he's got an oath stone.
One thing that is brought up frequently is the sword is not like a normal shard blade.
Wait, it's...
Is it not?
It's shorter than most shard blades.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, I think I noticed that, and then I forgot because there's only maybe 4 Zeth chapters in the entire book.
Yeah, Zeth enjoys a nice interlude thing. Basically, like, every in-between part, we get a Zeth chapter. One thing that is interesting about him is that he is pretty much the best fighter in this most deadly fighter in this world we've seen.
So far, yes.
So far. Because he, like, first time we see him, he takes on a dude in magical Gundam armor and beats him.
No, not Gundam armor.
Or at least power armor.
Power Rangers.
Battleizer armor.
Yeah.
Oh,
Best
I'm going to imagine Dalinar as a bloody Power Ranger now. Oh, no.
Oh.
God.
Speaking of Dalinar, I feel for the dude. Because...
The king... This is an interesting one, because the king's Gavilar seems to be not a bad guy, like, or at least, like, we don't really know much about him other than he's the guy that Zeth needs to kill. And then we get kind of more of him and we realize, oh, okay, he wasn't that bad of a guy.
No. And the explanation for why he had to die is in the second book, and that's all I'm going to say about it, because we're not talking about words.
Yeah.
But the explanation comes after the first book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the people who have hired Zeth are this group of people called the Parshendi, who are very unique.
Wild form of the Parshmen.
Yeah.
I believe they call it.
Yeah, they're basically one thing that makes Roshar function is basically a slavery system, where they have these things that are called Parshmen. They're larger than normal humans, and they seem to have like modeling on their skin. And
I think the book called it marbling, actually.
Mottling, marbling, same difference. Same
maybe.
Difference. It's basically like they have weird multicolored skin. And then when you get to the Shattered Plains, there's a different variety of them that seem to have carapace plate armor growing out of their bodies.
Yeah, and that's also another thing that we get to learn about in the second book.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're very different. And there are names for everything. Of course.
Yeah. Yeah, and then that brings us into the second bit of the prologue, which is the introduction to the main character, Kaladin Stormblessed, which we come out in the middle of at the beginning of a battle, and this poor kid like has to pee in front of the whole army.
I remember that. That had me laughing. Oh my god. Oh god.
He's just like, better piss now. Don't want to you don't want it distracting you during a fight, so just drop trow, go, and then pull it back up.
Oi, Maximus! No spoilers for the second book! Don't! Seriously, we're not talking about the second book. We're talking about the first only. I'm bringing those up because it's irrelevant, but we don't need to talk about that. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Warform. Yeah, Warform is not. I don't think Warform is a. It seems as though there are different varieties of Parshmen. They even remark on the fact that like that the Parshmen, when they found them, seem to be slightly different than the ones they're fighting on the Shattered Plains.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in the second book, we actually get to look at the culture of the Parshendi / Parshmen, which is really, really interesting. But again, we're not talking about words. We're talking about Way of Kings.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Thank you.
No, I don't think Warform is mentioned in book 1. Because we don't get into any of the Parshmen's heads until book 2.
Yeah, all we get really is a okay, so basically we're discussing The Way of Kings. It's a book by Brandon Sanderson. It's one of my favorite books of all time.
First in the Stormlight archive, and it's amazing. You should really read it.
Yeah, essentially what we have, kind of short version. I can pull out a little bit. Let me go back. So basically, like, we've got 3 interlocking storyline where we have kind of Zeth, and that'll take the shortest amount of time. And then we have Carbranth, which is a kind of a parallel plot. And then we have the Shattered Plains. We have these 3 locations that are kind of centralized. And one of them is basically about this young lady trying to pull off a heist where she wants to take this magical artifact that allows you to transmute it's basically an alchemy thing.
Yes.
Where you can transmute any matter from one state to another. Like, an example might be you can transform stone into smoke, or rock into
we see
food.
Her mentor transmute a person into crystal, another into
fire, I think.
Fire, and I don't remember off the top of my head what happens to the last person she does that to.
Was there one with smoke?
Maybe?
It might have been smoke.
Yeah, one with smoke, yeah.
Yeah, smoke and fire.
And then we have the bulk of the story, which is the Shattered Plains, where we get to kind of look at the royal family, basically the family of the guy who died, including his brother, the brother's 2 sons, Adolin and Renarin, and his widowed wife. Then we have Kaladin Stormblessed and Bridge 4.
Which were the friends I was talking about earlier. And the Golden Bits.
Yeah. This book gets really complicated, especially in what is it? once you get into the interludes, because the interesting thing about the interludes is there are cameos from other Cosmere books in this one. So,
And of course, because this is the first book I've read of Sanderson's stuff, I missed all of them because I haven't read Mistborn.
yeah.
That's okay though. When I get around to reading it again after I read Mistborn, I'm gonna catch them all and I'm gonna go, that is so clever.
To be fair, I think I missed them and I have not read it. So,
I think so. Do you remember Demu from Mistborn?
Oh,
he's in this. He's one of the. He's one of the guys looking for Zeth. It's the main reason why you don't notice his name is because the hillbilly living in Louisiana times 10 is mispronounces his name.
Oh my god. That
yeah, I missed the name too, but I missed it because I don't know the character at all.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. They seem to. Another interesting thing is that Wit, the king's wit, the jester. He is in every single Cosmere book.
I knew there was a character that was in all of them.
Yeah.
And I didn't know who it was.
I'm looking forward to
having
that
read
because I love him. He is so funny.
I remember reading his scenes and going, if a character that I have read is that character, it's this one.
Yeah.
He's just so funny.
Yeah, he's kind of not like, you kind of see different aspects on him on just different worlds, but every time you read a Stormlight, every time you read a Cosmere book like Elantris, Mistborn, Warbreaker, you look for a man named Hoyd, and he will appear in nearly every single one. He's not named in Mistborn 2, but he does show up. He shows up in he shows up in Warbreaker in a similar capacity that he shows up in this book, in terms of the fact that he is a storyteller. And he's clearly something different.
Yeah, oh my god, his insults are so creative.
Yeah. Like
every line of dialogue with him is so much fun.
It's witty.
Yeah. And yeah. Though there's going to be some fun stuff, I have to say. I do think one thing, kind of the next, like, where is Zeth and all this? So I thought the best thing to do with kind of Carbranth is we have three major characters, or at least it seems like. We have Yasna and Shallan.
Yasna, who happens to be part of that royal family.
Mm-hmm. She's basically like an avowed heretic atheist. She's like, I don't believe this. This is bunkum.
Yeah.
Which we find out at the end kind of is.
Yeah, kind of.
And then you have Taravangian, who's
he's not overhyped. His material is just so good.
No, you are dead.
Yeah.
You are dead. Basically, you are.
Yasna used transmuting a person into crystal to kill him. There's no going back from that.
Yeah, and it's
It's quite a
interesting.
traumatizing scene, really.
Yeah.
For Shalon, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Uh,
had no problem with it.
yeah. I think he isn't. So I think a good way of understanding Sanderson is kind of keep in mind what you're getting, because Sanderson is not like Martin or Abercrombie or.
No,
Um,
he's all about more positive character arcs, whereas
mhm.
the other guys are more grim, dark. Everything can and will go wrong. And even though Sanderson has the everything can and will go wrong, there is the we are hoping for a better future, and here is how we see that.
Mm-hmm.
Because Shalon, at the end, manages, or wait, is this in the second?
So the first book we have, Shalon's story arc, is basically
Yeah,
we
she's
see.
trying to steal something called a Fabrial, which they also call a Soulcaster.
Yeah, think of a Fabrial as basically a piece of tech, like
Yeah.
what they call, and Soulcaster's the specific designation.
Yes, basically.
One example is basically like a split gemstone allows them to basically like have two pens that can write across distances, kind of like medieval magic texting.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. And they basically use gemstones to basically fuel like heating fabrials,
They're
anesthetic
lights
fabrial, yeah,
at the
light,
same time as they are currency. It's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. Instead of coins, because coins are basically useless in this world that has soul casters. What
Yeah.
are instead useful are the gems that power them. And the most expensive gem, or the gem worth the most currency, is actually an emerald, because emeralds are used in soul casting. And then you
The
have.
system doesn't really make sense to me because the diamond chips are the lowest, and
Mhm.
I'm not sure how that works because everything else is softer than a diamond.
Well, isn't the system that like it's just how useful they are in like soul casting and such?
Well, yeah, but it's like diamond.
It's not really hard. It's not really hardness. It's more just their use with Fabrial, their Fabrial use.
Yeah, okay, but yeah, I can suspend my disbelief for that, and I have no problem with it. It's just when I think diamond, I think the hardest substance on the planet.
Well, it's quite interesting to have a world where diamonds are, like have like a different perception, pretty much, because
yeah,
they're not as useful as like an emerald or
a ruby
or a ruby. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, since the designation is pretty much emerald, sapphire, ruby, diamond. And I imagine like a lot of that is basically like how useful is this object in terms of soul casting, which it seems like soul casting is the biggest thing. It allows you to make food, it allows you to make structures.
Yeah.
That's actually a good point. That could be.
Yeah.
That could be part of it.
Yeah.
That could be.
Yeah. And so it's just like we think of diamonds as because like diamond mines, diamonds on wedding rings, stuff like that. They don't think that way. They think more in terms of like their utility. And so that's where they come up with their monetary system, which is way more interesting, I think, than like just coins. Like that's
it
actually
is
like
way
really
more
cool.
interesting than coins. But the reason that I had trouble wrapping my head around it is because even though diamonds are really, really common, They are also a hardness of 7 on that system, which means that they are really hard to work.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So,
in a world where you have swords that are basically
in a world where you have swords that can pass through damn near anything if they're left hot, shall we say?
Yeah.
I can understand how it would be easy to work them, but if you do not have one of those blades, then yeah.
Yeah.
Sharp knife. No, there are no sharp knives. All of them are big honking swords. Even the one that is on the small side.
Yeah, the small side's like 5 feet long. Like, it's a long blade. And
whereas everything else is like 8 feet long. 5 feet is short, yes. But it's
like 6. Like, yeah, like more like 6 or 7. 6 or 7 feet long. There's a big ass swords.
Yeah, they're all two-handed great swords is what they are.
Yep. And we basically, like, Shalon is trying to steal this because her family is in the gutter in terms of how much they owe their creditors.
Yeah. And it doesn't... When I first heard that, my first thought, and I didn't know, well, I think I'd already met Navani at this point, but I didn't know something about her because this specific information is in the second book and we can't talk about it. But my first thought when I learned that she had a soulcaster that was broken was, Navani has connections. She could probably get it fixed for you if you just asked.
Yeah.
After becoming her ward. And
yeah, that would have probably been a lot more simple.
Yeah, and instead she's got this convoluted, intricate plan to
But I love that that's so in character for her.
Yeah.
Like it's very, very Shalon pronunciation.
I honestly don't think it matters.
I don't really think
I was like, oh no. I've only read these words.
No worries. We're anti-Luddite here. Yeah.
But yeah, and they actually have that conversation in the second book, which I'm really gratified about. Because it's like... But yeah, no, let's stay away from that. I'm already 24 or so chapters in, and
It's really cool.
Yes, it is. I still hate Sanderson, though. Because, spoilers, everyone knows what happens to the mentor characters. Spoiler, spoiler, spoiler! Yeah. If you can't tell, I really, really like Yesna. I really like her.
Yeah, she's cool. She is very, very cool.
Very cool. So the entire time that I was reading Shalon's chapters, I was rooting for her and Yesna to get along.
So this is kind of an example of the big ass swords that we're talking about.
Yeah.
I like how Dalinar looks like Shad.
He kind of.
Well, why not? Yeah, why not? But yeah, that is a huge sword.
Yeah.
A really big sword.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'm peeved. I'm peeved that he killed off one of my favorite characters. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna put the books down just because he did that, because I know better.
But it's probably how it's frustrating.
yeah,
at some
very
point.
frustrating.
Yeah.
I'm
Don't worry,
I'm
it's
looking
for everyone.
forward to Shalon meeting with
So
what's his name?
So I actually have a really cool. Well, I'll share that when we get to Dalinar. But I've got a cool story about Dalinar.
Yeah.
Dalinar looks like my dad. Like my dad actually looks like Dalinar.
Nice.
Brilliant.
That's brilliant.
We actually live like 5 minutes away from Brandon Saracen's office and his house. And we live right next to his map artist, Isaac, and his office manager, Kara Stewart, who's Isaac's wife. And we've actually helped out at their their little office thing. And my it's a giant office.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah. And
just a teeny tiny bit.
And my just wait, you'll be even more jealous. My family has seen Brandon Sanderson's supervillain lair that he's built.
I told you I'm jealous already of that.
Oh.
And they've seen it. It's apparently this giant underground movie theater that he just plays movies in or something.
Oh my god.
And my dad actually got to meet Brandon Sanderson's dad, who was the original basis for Dalinar in terms of his appearance. And then he just this guy, like, he sees my dad and my mom. My mom and my dad actually dressed up as Navani, Kholin, and Dalinar for the release of Oathbringer. And like my dad showed him Brandon Sanderson's dad pictures, and he just says, "You know what? You suit the role of Dalinar Kholin better than me. I relinquish the role to you." And my dad will sometimes like go over to help out, like with moving the books and stuff and putting them in boxes. Yes, my parents will Cosmere cosplay, but that's it. And just sometimes when my dad goes over, the Brandon Sanderson's dad is there at the office, he'll just say, "Lord Dalinar."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I might even have like face.
So
Facebook
what? Does that make you Adolin or Adolin's brother?
I'm Adolin's brother. I don't have blonde hair. I am also not a jock. I am not a jock, so that really would not work. I am not Adolin. I am also not nice enough to be Adolin. I am a dick.
You're also not a playboy, so of course you can't be Adolin.
Well, Adolin's not really I don't know if he's a playboy. He's just ADHD with girls.
Yeah, that's probably a better description. To be fair, Renarin's like one of the like low-key best characters. He's like really understated, but he's just really sweet. Whenever he's there, like that scene with him and Wit in the tent.
Yeah.
So cute.
I've gotten past him training with Shardplate, and it's amazing. In the second book, so
yeah. I got past that bit. I can't remember where I got to when I did my first read through. And yeah, I mean, by the way, like I'm so glad actually, weirdly, that I stopped and I've had to restart because I did not appreciate how good this book was when I first read it. I had so many things that I was like, I can't be bothered to read that. I'm just going to skim through it. When I was 18 or whatever I was, and oh god, it's
yeah.
I am so glad I'm reading out and going. This was too good for my brain back then.
So, let me see. Where is it? I'm actually looking for my parents' Navani and Dalinar cosplay really quick because I think it would be cool to show. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff with Yasna and Shallan where we kind of actually have these interesting moral conundrums. Found it.
Yeah. The thing about that is that there were not very many chapters with them in this first book, and that didn't matter because I was instantly, wow, yeah, that's Lord Dalinar and Lady Navani, yes.
Yep, that is my mom and my dad dressed up as Navani and Dalinar for the release of Oathbringer. And
wow.
Yeah. And they actually yeah, and they also like people actually like camped out in like the field near our house for the release of Rhythm of War. And it's either I think it was Rhythm of War. It was either it wasn't Rhythm of War. It was Starsight, I believe. And they went out dressed as Dalinar and Navani and just went around the camp in character.
So what? They were acting like it was a war camp or something?
Pretty much, yeah. Like they
that's
even
cool.
even the side
I bet everyone that camped out was having a blast.
Well, even like the camp was itself the war camp, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like there was a lot of people who are just like just waiting around for the release of this book. But getting back to the topic at hand, like the interesting thing about Shallan is that she really tries really hard to get this wardship. Like Yasna like says, no, don't come around. Around initially, she says like, do you know this, and this? And she's like, no, but I can learn. And then Navani's like, no, once you've read all these, come back to me, kid. And then she just like sits
Shallan actually does that.
Yeah, she grabs all the books and sits down next to
yes, she's
like
got some real big ones. That's one of the reasons why I like her so much.
I love how like introvertedly sort of confident she is. It's it's a really strange combination, but it's really wonderful.
Yeah, I actually kind of feel like I could be Shallan myself. Because I hate confrontation. I hate it so much. I don't want it. It's like,
I don't want it.
If I have a choice,
oh yeah, me too. Though
I will. If I have a choice, I'll go with the flow.
Yeah.
But if I know something's wrong, I won't. So
yeah,
I definitely like was 100% empathizing with her with like how like intimidating Yasna is. Like,
yeah, she is really
like,
intimidating, but she's awesome.
Yeah, like it's kind of just like she is very different kind of princess than you normally get in stories.
No, Yasna's like, she's the right. This is the trope. She's the royalty that does things. Her entire family actually is royalty that does things.
Yeah, like her mom is a scientist, which is kind of cool, which is really cool.
Yeah, it is.
And
being that Elhokar is probably the only one that doesn't come under that.
Yeah, Elhokar.
He's a whiny little brat that needs to get a lesson in something.
To be fair, he got a little bit of an. He gets a little bit of one at the end of this. You know? Just a little bit.
We'll get into that.
Great.
We'll get.
I love though that you spend the whole book. Well, at least I spent the whole book reminding myself, oh yeah, Yasna is in fact Elhokar's sister, and you're like, oh yeah, and then there's this one moment where she's on like the spannery to Dalinar, and she mentions him, referring to him obviously as her brother, and it's like, oh yeah.
Apparently, it seems as though Yasna is like seems like she's the actual monarch, or at least like she's the more monarch type, because she is really smart. Like she's really smart. She's really assertive.
Why she's not queen is because she's a heretic. I think that's the only reason why.
Also, she's a girl.
Well,
I wonder.
But yeah.
In a parallel universe where you got to see her as a ruler, I wonder if she'd like to be too far on the technocratic kind of side, though. I wonder if she'd be like that. She and Elhokar are such opposite ends of the spectrum. I don't know. That I don't know. It would have been interesting to see, though.
Yeah, it would have been.
It would have been very interesting.
Anderson, I hate you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean that in jest, because there's no way I'm putting words down.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Hey, I've been on that train since Mistborn Book 1. Ooh.
I think I know.
No spoilers, but I think
it involves Survivor, I imagine.
It does indeed. I might have run around my house quite a few times screaming.
Gosh, you!
That was the first time I've read a Hat Anderson book as well, and I was like, what am I doing? What is this?
There are some other things. Technocratic. Oh dear. Technocratic. Like, she's very meticulous and very scholarly.
Yes, she is.
She's and very like.
I think she would.
Oh, go for it. Sorry. No,
I think she'd probably be like, if she was ruling something. My inclination is that she'd be so kind of like, these are the facts, that she'd be quite unwavering. That's kind of what I meant. Like she would be so. I don't know. I think I get that impression from her, but I don't know. Yeah, but so that's what I'm trying to get at. Like she'd be so by the book that she'd almost be too. Yeah,
she'd be too strict. Probably, I think the word you're looking for is.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah.
And the interesting bit about Shallan is like she's slowly like learning, and Yasna's like giving her these little learning puzzles. And like a lot of them are not really that simple. Like Yasna kills a bunch of muggers that were probably saying and she just says like they were going to rob us, rape us, and murder us. So
would you really have me let them live?
Yeah,
it's like if I'd actually seen that on the screen, that would be a bit that I agree with Shallan. That is traumatizing to actually see. But I'm also of the mind that you're certain that if you're so certain that they would have done that to us, then no, I do not blame you for killing them. In fact, I probably if I could get my hands on a blade, I'd probably do the same.
Yeah. And the cool thing is like Sanderson that like just doesn't have it just happen and then moves on. Like he actually like has Yasna says, figure out the moral conundrums.
I know. I love those chapters. Like,
yeah,
it's just
there
them
are
having a
not
philosophical
enough of them.
discussion. It's great.
Yeah.
There are not enough of them.
Yeah.
There really aren't.
Yeah. And throughout it, Shallan is like this like artistic savant. Like, she is uniquely able to like draw pretty much anything from memory.
Yep.
And then she keeps drawing these strange symbol-headed creatures. What did you think? You originally thought those were Voidbringers. What do you think now by the end of Way of
I
Kings?
had no idea. I was so far off. I know what those things are, but we don't find out what those are until
specifically what they are at the end.
Book, I think.
Yeah, you don't find until the second book, but you do at least figure out, no, these are not Voidbringers. That's something very
yeah, that's something way different. That's the Parshmen are the Voidbringers. And you don't find out until like the very end of the book. And all of the little hints are sprinkled throughout, but I didn't figure it out until Shallan did. And I had to pause and go, wait, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How the hell did I overlook that?
Yeah.
It's so obvious now.
Oh, the main bad guys are the main bad guys. Oh, why is that a surprise?
Yeah. But no, I mean, the Voidbringers have always been the
they're like the boogeyman throughout the book. Yeah, they're the
boogeyman, and it's like there's enough hints that if you're paying really close attention, you can figure it out before Yesna tells Shallan.
But it's so nicely it's so nicely set up that you've got, this is the ancient time with all the great big nasty monsters, and this is the normal time where all the magic and things have gone. You know, even down to like even though it's obviously only set like 6 years before when you've got Seth doing his thing, it's still like in the prologue you get all the magic stuff, and then we go to normality where there is no magic. So it's like, well, this is the normal stuff, so why would they be?
Yeah, you know what I mean? It got to be where they start talking about it in metaphor, which is interesting, and it's like smoke and fire.
Literally. And the smoke and metaphor became literal, at least in terms of like the rhetoric that is spun about these people.
Yeah, and they also thought the Chasm Fiends might be the Voidbringers, but no.
Or at least like they are very much designed, like there's artwork of Voidbringers that seem like they're designed after Chasm Fiends.
Yes.
Which it sounds like, do you think a Chasm Fiend is a Thunderclast, or do you think that a Thunderclast is something else?
I think that it might be a Thunderclast, but it might not be.
I feel like the description of Thunderclast at the beginning seems too kind of, although like Chasm Fiends are like big and terrifying, they're sort of like, I don't know, the description of Thunderclast was like so
it was very
out
different.
There. Yeah, it may have just been vaguer, but I can't remember. It's right at the beginning. It's a while ago.
Yeah, it's
the fight with the Chasm Fiend is one of my favorite parts of this book. It is. It's so amazing.
Yeah, it's very like think of it like a lot of various things have a dragon-esque or at least a dragon class agonist beast thing. The Chasm Fiend is this enormous multi-legged dragon without wings that just kind of crawls around these giant chasms.
It's more of a crustacean.
Yeah,
than a dragon, but it certainly
it's a crustacean dragon. It's like a crustacean dragon, wingless dragon.
Which, when you put it that way, is kind of horrifying. Even more so than when you're reading it.
Yeah,
it's a dragon, but it's a crab.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many cool artwork for it.
I would not want to meet that thing in a very dark chasm. Hinted.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. The
main character got extremely lucky.
Yeah.
Extremely.
Yeah, he got close to yeah, kind of like a worm. There's actually like some artwork that's pretty spot on, I think. Well, technically it's not artwork. It's
yeah, that is so cool. Seriously.
Yeah. That's it, yeah, which is really horrifying because that's just this giant beast that's like bigger than a dude. But
it's cool to look at, but if I was faced with one, I'd skedaddle.
Yeah, it's very scary. But the interesting thing is we see these symbol heads, and in the end, Yasna, like part of the thing that, like, as we were talking about, the Shallan's kind of wavering whether to steal the Soulcaster or not and switch it with the broken one that she has. And then she finally does it after Yasna kills the guy, the dudes.
Yeah.
And while this is happening, there's this monk dude.
Yeah.
I was so annoyed he ended up being bad. He was great.
Yeah. Capsule, basically, Capsule is this monk dude called an Ardent who falls for Shallan, is flirting with her all the time. And
or at least that's the front he puts up. I never actually liked Capsule very much.
Oh no.
It's like my thought was there's something off about this dude. He's pleasant, but there's just this feeling in the back of my mind that he's not being genuine. Or well, maybe he was being genuine in that he thought Shallan was cute, but he was definitely after something. Ulterior motive galore.
And you especially notice that when he like eats the bread and like is trying to ask Shallan to eat, well, what we find out later is poisoned bread. And and Yasna, yeah, there's some interesting stuff that we see later. What we see is a Capsule. So did you get that feeling with Taravangian when you were reading him in Kharbranth, or did you like it was kind of the ending a shock? And we'll kind of reveal what happens at the end a little bit later.
Ending, actually, it was actually kind of a shock. It was like there was something off about the king, but I can't place it. And then it's oh crap! I picked up on that before. I picked up on that, and I had no idea. So it's like now I had to pause for a second and say, now I feel stupid.
Well, it's funny because for whatever reason, the Taravangian like ending part was one of the bits I completely forgot about, and so I got through it this time, and I was like, because even just I didn't even get it jogged when I was reading his bits, earlier on. It was just like, oh, I remember this wholesome king guy. Oh.
Yeah.
How did I forget that he wasn't in fact that?
It's
why?
Yeah, and it all comes back to Zeth. I'm still questioning how he can still be an air runner and not have a sprint. And maybe we'll find out in words, but I'm not sure we will. Maybe we'll find out if he in his book if he does get one and he doesn't die before then. But
my theorizing brain so far is going, well, Okay, so he has an oath stone. The word oath is popping up in all the like little passages and stuff to do with Knights Radiant. And I'm just
Journey
going
before destination.
It's like it's popping up.
Yeah, that pops up everywhere.
So I'm thinking, although you're led to believe that the Oathstone thing is like a Shinovar thing, I'm wondering if it has a little bit like a Radiant sort of heritage that has something to do with that. That's
maybe
interesting.
Maybe it does. Like
it does seem like that shard blade is very odd. Everybody remarks on how weird that shard blade is. And another interesting thing about that shard blade is that Szeth's eyes are not perpetually blue like other shard bearers. They only turn blue when he has the sword, which is a very different thing than a lot of other shard blades.
I don't think I noticed that. I thought that was...
So they actually specifically bring that up in his second POV chapter in this book. They're drawing attention to that sword quite a bit, and it seems as though like there's just something not quite right. Yeah, and it could be the Oathstone. That's a very good possibility.
Also, quite interesting is that he's got like the two things. You can't be commanded to kill himself, and he can't be commanded to
give up the blade.
Was it give? Yeah. So, and that's to do with the Oathstone again. So it's like I don't know. There's just connections there that I'm like, they're playing in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just... Yeah, but I really like him. I like him. It's like, you killed the king, and yet I really like you as a character. It's just...
Szeth's life sucks.
His life really does suck.
Well, there's the whole massacre scene, and he's just crying, and you're like, okay, this hurts.
It's obvious that he's not a bad dude, but he can't disobey whoever has his Oathstone. So he's being forced to kill.
So, and you're pretty sure that the Oathstone is magic, correct? Or do you think that it's magic, or do you think it's something else? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm pretty sure it's magic.
Okay.
It might be that he has an Oathstone instead of a Spren, but I don't know how he would have gotten an Oathstone instead of a Spren, unless his Oathstone is made of the Spren that used to be his. And I'm not sure how that would work. But Szeth is very lonely too because of that.
Yeah. He basically, what we see of Szeth is like right after we don't see him again after the prologue until the interlude. And then we see him and he's just like this slave to a just loser dude.
Yeah.
And then like he gets and then the Oathstone gets taken, and the like Szeth gets told go kill, like gets made into this like criminal undermine, like wannabe criminal
muscle.
Criminal
He's
muscle.
the muscle.
And then somebody kills Szeth's boss and takes Szeth's Oathstone. And I love the analogy that he uses. You're a shard blade used to cut cabbages, or a rashadium attached to a dung cart. Let's actually make use of those skills of yours. And so he goes and is set to kill every single king on Roshar, and he does it.
Yeah, it's like, and I really feel for him because he doesn't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I could be doing so much better with my skills, and yet my master insists that I kill these people who might not be bad people.
Well, kind of it's even worse. He kind of wants to do nothing with his powers. He just kind of wants to just kind of be a slave and not do anything, really.
Well, you've got multiple characters already in this book that are like resigned to their fate, essentially. Mm-hmm. So it's like it's sort of something he has in common with other characters that you like. So even if he's doing things that you're like,
it's even
kind of bad.
Even
you're like,
Kaladin,
you know,
to some extent, and then Kaladin wakes up somehow, and it's like I want that for Seth too.
Mm-hmm.
I want him to be able to get out of his situation. But unfortunately, the only way out of his situation might be death.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's there. We got a bunch of sad boys in this book.
Yeah. And that's not even touching Bridge 4.
Yeah. And then I think one of the most spectacular, like, this book has some of the most spectacular action scenes I've ever read.
The tower, the chasm fiend fight, the fight with Gavilar and Seth in the very beginning.
And then when Szeth goes after the King of Yakaved and has to fight two guys in full shard plate and the King of Yakaved with a shard blade. And
yes.
He kills all of them.
He is probably the most badass character in the entire book because of that.
Yeah.
The ending of that chapter was just like, you know.
Yeah, when he
it's just
what?
Yeah, and the worst, and kind of the worst part is
in the film version, you know, it's just like
yeah, and kind of the worst part is like Szeth is ordered to have as many civilian casualties as possible, which is the worst part of it because he's not killing combatants during those scenes because of what he's been ordered to do. Which is really rough.
It would be one thing if he was on a battlefield and they were soldiers, but these people are civilians.
Mm-hmm. And he's like told to like make it as bloody as possible. And when he's told that, I can just hear his heart breaking. Mm-hmm. And just slowly, like, his mind deteriorates, and he just hears the screams all the time. And then all roads kind of come back to Kharbranth, which is interesting because we only hear mysteriously about this master, and Szeth is given special orders to kill Taravangian, but he's supposed to say a phrase. And then Taravangian, and they're all finished, and then Taravangian says, "Oh, okay." And then he produces Szeth's oath stone, and Szeth is like, "WTF, mofo."
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck, dude? You put yourself on my hit list. What the hell?
Well, why not? And he's like, well, if you're among the possible murder victims who would suspect you. And he's just like,
not cool, master.
Yeah.
Not cool.
Yeah. Well, basically, like, collateral damage, not in a war sense, but basically he's sent to assassinate and kill anybody who's in his way, and that includes like servants and other like non-combatants.
Yeah. My heart was just breaking for him when he got that order. It's like, you're already making him kill people. Why are you breaking him completely?
I love that we've been able to talk about this for an hour and 10 minutes, and we haven't even got to the main plot or the main character.
Well, there's just so much to talk about, and we I love all of the characters, so is that really surprising?
Yeah. And it's also like the small version I have has 1,300 pages, so it's only 200 pages short of the Bible.
Wow.
Yeah. But kind of back to Taravangian seems to have this hospital where people who are unnoticed die, and throughout the book we see these people have what are called death rattles, and it seems as though they're some kind of prophetic nature to these things, or at least they're warnings of bad things to come.
Yeah, I thought that they would be really important. Maybe not in this book, maybe in words instead. But it's okay, so this is where these are coming from, but I still don't understand how they're important. You didn't explain that, but that's okay. I enjoyed the book. If you give me explanations in the next book, I will be perfectly fine.
Yeah, the nice thing about this is this book is a 1 in a 10-book series.
Yes.
And though there is going to be a cutoff point at 5 where it ends this particular arc of the story, and then a new arc is going to be the next 5 books, as opposed to a giant series. And you'll also it. One thing that is interesting about this book series is that the major things that are coming are Warbreaker cameos. There are actually 2 characters and an object from Warbreaker that shows up in the second book. And it's very interesting. As soon as I saw, okay, Sanderson, I see where you're going here. But yeah, well, but Yasna, Shallan is accidentally poisoned by her admirer capsule and her soulcaster, and Shallan has to produce the soulcaster she stole and hands it to Yasna. Yasna transmutes her blood to get the poison out, and when she finds out that Shallan has been lying to her and stole it, she dismisses her. But then Shallan comes back and shows... Oh, wait. We've skipped over a very important part. Oh, my dear... Oh, goodness. We skipped over the point where she's being pursued by these symbol head things.
Yeah,
through her pictures that we see throughout the book.
Yeah,
and then,
that's...
she can't stop drawing them.
Yeah, they freak her out in the very beginning. They do. Mm-hmm. And I do not blame her for being freaked out at all.
Yeah,
if I had those things,
eldritch. They're very eldritch in a way.
If I had those things showing up in all of my art, I'd be freaked out too.
And then she's so freaked out that she drops into a parallel, what seems to be a new plane of existence that's all beads.
I don't remember. Does she find out the name of this place in Way of Kings, or is that in words? Because I know she knows what it's called by words.
I believe that it is called... I believe that, that Shadesmar is mentioned very briefly by Yasna. That, yeah, at least Brandon Sanderson at least has a good pace and produces a book every year.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Agreed. I'm not bitter.
No.
So you really need to get on with the 4th bloody book in the
6th
secondary mystery. Oh my god. There's been 3 of them. We've been waiting for ages.
Yeah. Well, Yeah, as opposed to our good friend Martin, who has only produced, what, 2 books? And one of them was barely written by him.
Yeah. It's like, no.
Sanderson, who in the past who has put it at least how many he's produced a lot of books. Like, he is exceptionally prolific.
Yeah, he produced, according to his lectures, he produced 13 books before he managed to break into the market and got lucky.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
he's the nice thing about, like, Sanderson is that he is like relatively young, and it just seems like his creativity is boundless.
Yes.
And he just kind of keeps putting out books. And like, he like puts out like a Stormlight archive book with like astonishing regularity every 2 years.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, maybe it's 3 years. Well, 3 years, I think. 3 years.
I can't wait for the next book to come out.
I feel like the gap between Oathbringer and Riven of War was pretty small, though. It was like, wow, there's another one already.
Yeah.
That was pretty quick.
And then the next book to come out is going to be the end of the arc. So
yes, that's the plan. And well, I think that part of it is like, we're both a Song of Ice and Fire fans, and we've been waiting 9 years, and like a lot. It's been 9 years since the last like mainline series book came out.
But, yeah. So, is it a spoiler if I just tell them what the symbol heads are? Or can I do that?
Just wait on that for a little bit. Keep them on tenterhooks.
Okay.
I really want them to read the book.
Yes, we want them to read the Stormlight archive, because Stormlight archive is just so wonderful.
Yeah, and so, but Shalon accidentally, like, what seems as though she accidentally uses the Soulcaster after trying really hard to get this thing to work, and it just doesn't. You were thinking that there was like, did you think that it was, I gave you a couple of hints to say that it was broken, but I don't.
Yeah, it's like, if she's able to do it, even though it's broken, then that means that she's special in the same way that Kaladin is special.
Mm-hmm. And then we find out that Yasna is figure out that Yasna is special by 2 very, very clever clues that our friend Sanderson puts in.
Yeah, and she's actually special in the same way, which is and it's like, that's actually one of the reasons why I'm angry at Sanderson, even though I'm not going to put the book down.
It's like, how dare you kill Ned Stark?
It's like, you have 3 characters that could potentially be new Knights Radiant, and you kill one of them when you need every single one possible. Why did you do that?
Yep.
Why? Because, we all know what happens to mentor characters.
Yeah.
Because Sanderson wants to torture you.
Yeah. And basically, like, the poison was in the bread, but the antidote was in the jam. And Yasna soulcast both. And she accidentally transmuted the antidote and made it useless. So Capsule accidentally kills himself and almost kills Shalon in his attempts to kill Yasna. Which is kind of like...
Come on, dude. Seriously? Why?
Yeah. And the way that Shalon, like, gets into that predicament is she accidentally soulcasts a thing into blood, and she thinks that she'll get caught stealing it. So she slits her own wrist to make it look like that's where the blood came from. Which is kind of like, ouch, girl.
It's like,
I mean,
you overreacted. If you just come clean, we could have had several chapters of what happens in words happen in Kings instead. And it's like, why did you do that?
But it really is.
I understand why you did it, because she was panicking, and you don't think when you panic. But it's like, girl, you are her ward. If you come clean,
she'll tell you.
Yeah, if you come clean, she'll tell you, and then you'll have a whole lot of other stuff to study.
Yeah.
And not just the boring stuff about her father that everyone knows.
You were saying, Becca?
But yeah.
I was gonna say, just after so many chapters of with her in her own head going, oh my god, if she ever finds out, these are the things that are going to happen, and then you have the span read conversations with her brother, and it's like setting you up, like, Yasna finds out, it is over. So it's like, you can see where her head is at. Her head is like, nope, that is the one thing that's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's like, hello, Murphy's Law.
Yeah. And then Shallan just comes back, bold as brass, and then shows Yasna a picture of Shadesmar that she's drawn. And Yasna's like, how do you know about that? And Shallan says, both soul casters are broken. You're a fake. You're the soul caster.
And Yasna actually agrees with her. It's like,
so Fire Cannot Kill a Dragon will resume
after we finish
I think in a week
chapters,
from Monday.
I believe.
A week from Monday we will resume. That is the plan. I've got a whole release schedule. I gotta pace my content out. Otherwise I'm gonna run. Well, technically I'm never going to run out.
Technically.
Yeah.
Hey.
Because I can always say, hey, we can keep doing Stormlight books, we can keep doing Wheel of Time books. I can say, hey, you want to read my books? You want to read?
And when all else fails.
I have not read Black Company. I have heard of it. I am currently working through Joe Abercrombie's standalones. That's what I'm working through. I might do a review. I might do a review of First Law. I need to create a Prezi because I really, really want to talk about Best Served Cold, because Best Served Cold is the Count of Monte Cristo of our generation, honestly. And all that implies. It's very much a fantasy modern day Count of Monte Cristo.
Yeah, actually, thinking about it, it kind of feels like Stormlight Archive is our generation Lord of the Rings. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, it's kind of a toss-up between Lord of the Rings and between Wheel of Time. And well, I guess Wheel of Time started in the 90s, same with the Song of Ice and Fire. The difference is Wheel of Time wrapped 6 years ago.
Yeah. It's more like successor of Wheel of Time than than our generations necessarily. It's kind of
Yeah, there are a lot of similarities. Kaladin's Stormblessed has a lot of similarities with Rand al'Thor. Michael Kramer even does a similar voice when he reads both.
Oh
wow! Just more reason for me to get Wheel of Time while waiting for.
It's a long ass commitment.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, Wheel of Time is what I'm gonna get after I finish buying Mistborn.
So.
I've read the opening of the First Wheel of Time book about 4 times, and I've bought the audiobook and I've listened to that before as well. And I'm really excited, but also that is a commitment. Can I do it?
Well, at least, it's just it's very different than and admittedly, I think there's a subplot that gets stretched out way too far in books 9, 10, and 11. That's just for the love of gosh, please conclude this subplot. It is taking way too long. Quit with the filler.
Yeah.
The nice thing is that even though this is long, there isn't really any filler in it.
No, it's not.
Relevant.
That was one of the things. Yeah, again, rereading it. Like I said, I was not paying attention properly when I first read it, to my detriment, and rereading it, going, "Wow, there's even less filler than I thought then," and I wasn't really seeing those things as filler. I was just being an impatient person when I first read it.
Yeah.
But this time around, I was like, "Wow, it's even more tight. How it's so long? How did that happen?"
Rereadability is big. I can't wait to pick this book up again. I can't, because I know that I'm going to pick up things that I missed the first time around.
Yeah, I think pretty much everything with, say, Kaladin is going to have a lot of rereadability.
Yes.
So
ooh, here we go.
Ooh, yay! Yay!
So we finally get to an hour in. We get to the main plot.
Yeah.
Yay!
Kaladin, the soldier son of a surgeon. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Kaladin's so cool.
It's just so brutal.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, his life sucks.
Yeah. It's I absolutely hate Amaran.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Freaking much.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So let's give some context. We're kind of jumping in. So we meet Kaladin in the prologue, and then he oh wow, cool, nice. Well, dang.
Oh, wow.
I'm amazed that you found me. I don't often post in a Discord far away. That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
Well, where people are finding us, which is great.
Yeah, it's great.
But with Kaladin and Bridge 4, basically what happens is Kaladin, we meet him as he's a squad leader. He's leading this group of men into battle, and basically, this nobleman with a mace is riding around smashing people, and then Kaladin kills him.
No, he's a shard bearer.
Well, first there's a dude with a mace.
Well, yeah, first him. And...
Yeah, well, we only see the dude with the mace in the prologue, and then we see a shard bearer coming at Kaladin and the rest, and then cut.
Yeah.
And the next time we see Kaladin, he's been a slave for a year.
Yeah, I feel it's and the flashback chapters are done really, really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I took a lot of inspiration from at least the structure for this for Queen of the Ashes, because I really like the idea that instead of having flashback in this character remembers large tracks of their memory. No, you just have parallel narratives, one in the past, one in the present, and that's much better.
And
I think
it's and it's just he's he's doing his best. He's when
he's a good man. He's a good person. Like a lot of it is like
amazing.
He's a really, really, really good person. Like he's trying to like save all the people of the bridge
around him.
Like he saves like the young like in the beginning, like he saves this young kid who,
or he tries, but this kid dies anyway because of either the guy in the mace or the shard bearer. Yeah, the shard bearer.
Yeah, we see Kaladin. The coolest thing is we see Kaladin from this kid's perspective the first time we see him, and he's basically like this hero type dude.
Yeah, and he definitely deserves it.
It's so nice to kind of have. It's like he's a paragon at first, like he's just like this far off, figure on high, which is, I mean, is he more often putting it that way than?
And then we get to be in his head, and it makes him just even better.
But you only get in his head once he's been literally crushed from that down to the lowest he could have been crushed to, which is. Then it's like it's almost like whiplash, really. It's like 1 second he's just paragon,
whiplash, and then he manages to build that image again in Bridge 4.
Yeah,
it's like dude,
his swings up and down are intense.
Yeah,
and he's been dealing with depression for like ever
all of his life. Yeah, he's had clinical depression for pretty much like I love how Brandon Sanderson like accurately portrays mental illness in a way that's like not like caricature, like he just like, no, depression sucks.
It's not window dressing for a character. If you give your character depression, there's gotta be the ups and downs. You gotta give it the nitty gritty, or nobody's gonna believe it.
Yeah.
Because depression is not, oh, woe is me. Depression is.
It's a little bit more intense than that.
Depression is more of, there are days when you just do not want to get out of bed because you do not have the energy to deal with life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how bad it is.
Those chapters, or like the summary of like how he just forgets how long it's even been, and just it's I don't even have words to describe it. It's wonderful.
Like,
well, wonderful, not quite the right word, but
it's wonderfully written.
Yes,
we can say that.
It's very well written, but it's really rough on.
It's so
emotionally
really brutal.
Raw. It's very emotionally raw.
During those chapters, it was like, it's okay, Sanderson, you can have my heart. I don't need it right now.
Yeah.
For a lot of the chapters where he was just at rock bottom, that was how I felt. I don't need my heart right now. You can have it.
Oh no, not the rock jokes.
Rock bottom. Also, his real name is Umu Aki Aki Aika Lunamore.
Thank you for saying it, because I wasn't gonna.
Rock is amazing.
Yeah. Airsick Lowlanders. It's like
you need a smile on your face when you're reading Kaladin chapters, and Rock is it.
Yeah.
Rock manages to inject just the right amount of wit.
Levity. Levity, yeah.
Yeah. Because I think he even manages to get Kaladin to smile in some cases.
Which is
really tough when he's on the low end of
he basically says like only his brother could get him to smile at certain points, and
somehow Rock manages to do that.
It's not even just that he makes him smile. He literally Rock doing his thing is what inspires like him to really push and kind of get go, oh yeah, us getting along. That's how we do it.
Yeah.
It's like an actual turning point. It's not
how
just,
we win. That's how we win. Not fighting what we hate, saving what we love.
Oh no!
No. I mean,
did you just turn Kaladin Stormblessed into Rose Seeker? Oh my god!
But actually,
No.
But that's Kaladin is Rose's line done right.
Yeah.
I am sorry. I couldn't resist.
Oh my god.
But yes, I hate that line so much.
Oh dear.
But he somehow manages to pull himself out of depression with the help of Bridge 4, and I don't think they know just how important that is. They all look up to Cal, but it was them holding their hands out to help him up. That
I think we should probably explain what Bridge 4 is and what the
is. Bridge 4, Bridgeman.
So basically, after Szeth killed the king, there's been a 10-year war on the Parshendi's homeland, the Shattered Plains. And it's kind of devolved into a scavenger hunt or capture the flag type situation rather than an actual war.
Yes.
Because
with all of the high princes competing against each other instead of fighting the Parshmen.
Yeah, basically what happens is the Chasm Fiends are occasionally they will basically form a chrysalis to pupate, as they call it, on top of chasms. And there are lookouts on various around the area of the Shattered Plains that will tell the High Princes, hey, there's something close to us, go grab it. And this guy Sadius has pioneered a kind of bridge method, a
bridge teams.
Yeah, basically
bridge
he basically uses slaves with relatively lightweight bridges as compared to like mechanical bridges like other people use.
Like the Dalinar uses the mechanical bridges. I don't think anyone else does. In fact, it's mentioned specifically that Dalinar doesn't get anywhere because of those bridges.
Mm-hmm. And Sadius uses the bridge edge crews both as a like fast-moving tactical advantage, but also he uses them as a distraction from his troops.
And bait.
Hence distraction.
Yeah.
Where he is basically saying, hey, here's these juicy-looking bridgemen without armor, and they get shot at by the Parshendi as they're trying to run these chasms. Where basically they use the bridge to traverse the chasms. And Kaladin is stuck in the bridge crews after being sold to them.
Bridge 4!
Sadius. And
Bridge 4 specifically.
Which apparently is the worst bridge and takes the most casualties.
Yeah.
And Kaladin, his life sucks, but for whatever reason, people around him die rather than him. And that's actually worse for him. He would honestly, prefer... life would be easier if he died.
Yes.
At least for him. And oftentimes he feels like that.
Yeah, he does. And that's when Rock comes into it and makes him feel better.
Also Syl.
I can't underestimate Syl.
Syl is his friend.
Yeah, she's like his little ineffectual guardian angel.
She tries. I think
I like to see
Yeah,
her
the
as like a nice
The
Tinkerbell.
moment that turns around for
Yeah.
him,
Nice
The
Tinkerbell.
moment-
That's actually accurate. Because Tinkerbell's a horrible
Like
person.
she's got like the trickster nature of Tinkerbell, but she's actually
she's
wholesome.
actually really sweet. She's really
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah, she's like Julia Roberts' version of Tinkerbell.
Yeah, the moment that his entire life turns around,
is actually when he's about to commit suicide.
Still left, and she's been gone for like several weeks, I think. Then she reappears just as Kaladin is going to throw himself off the edge, and gives him a poison.
An accidental poison plant.
Yeah, it saves his life.
Yep.
So
and he uses it, he thinks about using it, and he's like, "No, I'm not going to use it.
I can't do that.
I'm
gonna figure out something else. So thank you. I needed that.
And then he basically starts training the bridge crews and training his bridge, and like turns them into like actual soldiers.
But
it's hard though.
It's very hard.
Because their life sucks.
Every time there's like a breakthrough, it's like next chapter is okay. How do they get supremely
one
punished?
step forward, 2 steps back.
Well, 1 step forward, 3,000 steps back.
Probably.
And we have Kaladin, who's like this really good guy, and he's actually ends up, what happens is he just carries a plank of wood by himself, like back and forth.
Training, he's trying to get them motivated. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to motivate them, because if they see me doing this, they might do this too.
And
then it works.
The main thing that really gains their respect is when he starts bringing wounded bridgemen back. From like the battlefield when they're wounded, and because otherwise they just leave them.
Yes.
And you get Rock and Taft as his right-hand man, who like they realize, we can get some extra money by grabbing these
silkweed, I believe it's called.
It's
no. Kaladin's the one that figures it out, and he's the one that sets that up.
It's a sap. It's a kind of sap. Yeah. It's a medicinal sap. And he just says, "Hey, apothecary dude, I'm gonna blackmail you into paying me this much money. I need for this, or else."
I mean, the apothecary guy is,
shady.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, he doesn't seem as shady as he actually is by the time you figure out what the dude's been doing, but. At the same time, I love the whole like once you realize Cal knows what he's doing, he's like, okay, I'll stop doing the fragile old man act thing.
Yeah. And
I like that detail. It's good.
But then Gaz, I believe his name is.
Yes.
The sergeant in charge.
The sergeant in charge. Gaz gets replaced, and they are put permanently on chasm duty.
Well, the thing that happens first is basically Kaladin thinks of a way called side carry, where he's thinking about like he's thinking about defense, but unfortunately what happens is when they do the side carry, nobody loses. It completely throws off the strategy, and a lot of people die, and they end up losing the battle. And that is bad for Kaladin, because they have to make an example of him. So they basically tie him.
They string him up before a high storm. One of his men gives him a spear. A spear. And
to explain what a high storm is, it's basically
it's a storm which charges all the gemstones in the currency.
It's also basically a routine hurricane.
Yes.
They come every every month, every month
always,
or every few weeks.
Yeah, every
Like,
few weeks, I think.
Yeah.
But it's always from that one direction, and it's
yep.
just, yeah.
And like it rips up boulders. It destroys like anything that is like not made of rock. That's
it
like
destroys.
Rooted. Yeah, it just destroys it.
It basically, if it's not nailed down, you can kiss whatever it is goodbye.
Yeah, it's sayonara. And they say they're expecting him to die. That's why they're like saying like thrown out.
Let the Stormfather judge him, basically.
Yeah. Not to sound like a psycho, but because it's kind of a weird thing to say is your favorite, but that is my favorite scene in all the book. In the sense that it's so it's because it's such an intense scene. It's so
it is,
and it's such a big turning point as well. Like it's like essentially he's accidentally turned himself into kind of their god.
Kind of. Kind of.
You know, he's basically earned loyalty from these guys forever, just kind of accidentally because he was a bit delirious, and then because somehow he manages to survive.
And on top of that, he's given a spear. I keep saying that, but he's given a spear.
Throughout the book, it's kind of weird that like always whenever he comes back from a bridge run, even if they're freshly infused, all of his spheres are out of Stormlight.
Yeah,
and that's throughout the book, which is interesting.
And it makes it even weirder because the one he's holding during the high storm that is infused with it, it's done by the time they pull him down.
Mm-hmm. Which is a very neat clue.
Yeah,
and also, like you've seen Zeth, and also you've seen Zeth use Stormlight before, but you don't.
Yeah.
I didn't twig until Teft put the sphere in Kaladin's hand and it went out before. Like I was like, oh, I feel stupid now.
I love it when Sanderson does that. I really like, though, it's like a Sanderson thing that he likes to do. I mean, to be fair, my only examples are Mistborn and this, but in just something that he did in Mistborn as well, to kind of like when a character has a magical power, they do it without realizing it, and you almost don't notice that it's a magic. It's just you just go, they have a thing. There's a thing that happens, and they're using their magic without you kind of twigging, and then
and then
you get a moment you're like,
brings their attention to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I have this ability. Now I need to figure out what I can do with this ability.
And with this, we see basically Kaladin is once like he gets better, and that's actually kind of not very good because they get new management who are dicks.
Yeah, and they get chasm.
They get a Karen
chasm
for their
duty.
boss. They get a Karen for their new boss.
Basically, it's like, I still don't like her.
Yeah.
I really, really don't.
Yeah.
And that brings us to Kaladin's close call.
Yeah.
Because there was a chasm fiend down there, and luckily for Kaladin and all of Bridge 4, it was going in the opposite direction.
Yeah, basically what they get told to do is sometimes when high storms happen, like equipment and other things and bodies, including Parshendi with diamonds with gemstones in their beards, are thrown into the chasms. So they go down there to collect them. And if a chasm fiend comes, they're dead.
Yeah.
So they have to be very careful about when. But they also use the time that they're down there to train with weapons.
Yes.
And Kaladin says, we're done. We need to figure out a way to escape and run, because this is not. They want to kill us. They're putting us on every bridge run. We are gonna die. They want us
because
to
they
die.
have absolutely no time to rest because they are in the chasms at night when they should be sleeping.
Mm-hmm. So they sleep, and so it just does terrible things. They're trying to make an example of them, but this guy Sadius, who's basically running this particular section of the army.
Oh, Sadius is right. He's sadistic. Ugh.
I don't know if he's a sadist. He's a brutal utilitarian.
Oh yeah, it's like, oh my god.
But kind of while that's going on, there's a whole lot going on in the Shattered Plains, by the way. If you hadn't noticed.
There is. There is. Dalinar has these visions, and he doesn't know what the heck they are until he brings in Navani, and she figures out by
process of elimination
that he is actually.
But we should probably give some context.
We need context.
Jumping a little bit.
I think the first chapter we see Dalinar in is
it's the prologue.
It's
the prologue where he's slobbering drunk. And
I'm actually talking about his first point of view chapter.
That too. But then we see him a few years later, and we see him as this stern, no-nonsense military type, first through his son's eyes, where like his son is a hothead who really wants to duel Sadius because he wants to take him down.
Well, I don't blame him. Yeah. Everyone who reads this book wants that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sadius is definitely one of those guys where you want him to get his comeuppance.
Yeah, you want him to get his ass kicked. Yeah. And even though when Kaladin does the whole side carry thing with the Bridge 4, that does happen, it's like he doesn't learn anything from it.
Yeah.
Which just makes you want him to be taken down even harder. And
well, it's not even that he actually learns. Well, he like sees the opposite lesson. He sees the fact that like he sees, this bridge crews like did something that will upset the rest of the bridge crews. All right, crackdown time.
Yeah, instead of what he probably should have done, which is replace Gaz with Kaladin.
Well, it's mostly like their classism thing.
Yeah, that doesn't
and also
make
the
my
fact that
point
he's a
any
slave.
different, though.
Yeah, he should have. But the thing is, like, he just saw all that he saw was a bunch of bridgemen do a technique that caused him to lose a battle.
Yeah, it's like,
because
now I have to beat these people down because they caused me to lose something.
Yep. Yeah, he actually kills their commanding officer, who he actually has their commanding officer executed for incompetence. But he doesn't kill the slaves. But he doesn't kill the slaves.
The slaves are valuable.
Well, the point of them is chattel. That they die in like, useful circumstance, so why kill them while they're not?
Yeah,
like basically the really, really brutal reality of it, which is why what's the only, I can't remember, there's like one crime they're executed for, and everything else it's like,
I think it's like hitting a light eyes or something.
Yeah, it's like it's to keep them in like subordinate, but it's like everything else is,
you'll get punished.
Everything else is permissible.
Or you'll get strung up for the storm, or you'll get strung up in a high storm.
Yeah. But it's like you can't kill too many of them because you kind of got to keep them there to be killed in the appropriate time.
Yeah. Is it any wonder why we all hate Sadius? Ugh.
Yeah, well, I kind of like Sadius in terms of how evil he is.
Honestly, he's a very well written character.
Well, it's mainly
it's more like we love to hate him.
Well, it's even like my thing is just like I'm weird in that I don't usually hate characters very often. I am mostly like accepting of pretty much anything. And I'm just happy when I've kind of gotten to the point where I'm just happy when they're well written.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
I know.
hint, Marvel with Captain Marvel. Hint.
I was thinking the entirety of the sequel trilogy. There are no good characters in
Oh.
that.
Well,
Yeah.
That too. God.
Yeah.
Well, I also.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, then they're kind of like, they should die at the appropriate time. But like, if you're a commander and you let that happen, no, it's just like, no, you're dead. You're dead. And then while this is kind of happening, kind of we see the neat thing about this is this conflict in the Shattered Plains. We see the bottom of the conflict, which is the slaves, and then we see the generals up top, kind of making
through Dalinar.
Yeah, and we also see this almost murder mystery thing where it starts off with a chasm fiend hunt, where it's basically like a boar hunt, but
basically
boar hunt, but way more dangerous.
times more dangerous because the boar towers over you, and it can eat you in basically one bite.
One of the boar's feet is as big as a person.
Yes. Basically.
And even though these ants have magical power, glass power armor, and swords that are 6-foot long lightsabers, but way cooler.
They might as well be lightsabers.
Yeah.
Because they cut through every freaking thing.
Yeah.
Even if they don't leave a mark.
Yeah, even if it's alive. If it's alive, it will burn out the eyes of the person who gets killed. But if it's anything inanimate, it will basically
if it goes through one of your arms, you say goodbye to your arm.
Yeah,
you're now paralyzed.
It just turns gray and you can't feel it.
Instant gangrene.
Yeah. And after that, we see basically the king, his uncle, and his cousin are in the middle of a fight with a chasm fiend, and for whatever reason, the king's saddle snaps.
Yeah, and you find out later that he actually did that himself.
Because the king's paranoid. The king's kind of crazy.
A little bit of paranoia is healthy for when you're a king, but he's got unhealthy amount of paranoia.
Yeah, he's basically crippled by it. Like he basically is like like it's almost paranoid schizophrenic.
Almost, not quite.
Yeah,
thank God it's not quite. Yeah, because I actually like the king.
Yeah, even though he's a loser, he's kind of an adorable loser.
Yeah.
There's some scenes with him and Dalinar, and it's like, oh, there's also others, and you're like,
you idiot.
Yeah, and the chapter where Dalinar gets to spank him is so satisfying.
It's so great.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Yeah. It's just, I love the end bit as well. Like,
it's like, well, now, Elokar, you know that I do not want to kill you.
So
basically,
like, I don't want to kill you because I bloody would have done.
He's
you
like,
have a funny way of showing that, Uncle. That was me spanking.
Walks out the door, by the way, and dating your mum.
It's the Cullen family dynamic is really interesting if you hadn't noticed.
It's absolutely wonderful. And Shalon gets to be part of it.
Yeah.
Well,
because
hopefully,
we
anyway.
have since we have Adolin, who's this kind of airheaded jock who's like definitely like he's not even coded metrosexual. He is metrosexual. He's always thinking about clothes. It's just like
It's like, yeah.
it's like it's not even subtle. This guy's totally a metrosexual.
But I really, really like how he
It
comes
is
to the
cool,
realization that, Dad's got a point about us soldiers always being in uniform. He's got a point.
His most endearing like quality as a character is like how much he's like everything he's doing is like defend his dad, defend his dad, defend his dad, even if he's like completely off the mark. But the thing is, nobody knows what the mark is, to be fair, not even Dalinar.
Not even Dalinar knows.
He doesn't know what the mark is, so how the hell are they supposed to be on it? But it's like the one thread is that no matter what, Adolin's like protecting Dalinar is number one.
And his
like,
little brother.
And his little brother, which
it's adorable.
Yeah, because his little brother like seems like he is somewhat antisocial, or very antisocial. Like he just like
also kind of sickly, almost.
Yeah, he's very sickly. He's got a blood weakness, as they call it. But it's basically like I don't think it's a spoiler to say he has epilepsy. Like they describe it as epilepsy.
They describe it as epilepsy. I thought it would have been anemia because it was a blood thing.
Well, basically, like he has fits. Like, and
wait, that's right. Dalinar has fits too during high storms. Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, very, very interesting. And he sees visions of the past, which during high storms, and some of them are like, and it's very clever that Sanderson does not show fighting Parshendi.
No, it's very, very clever, because otherwise everyone would have realized, Voidbringers are the Parshendi.
Yeah, but instead we see what seem to be like shadow hounds or something. Like I always depict them as like dogs made of mud or muddy smoke, coming after Dalinar in the body. Basically, what happens is Dalinar basically comes down and watches a scene of history from the far distant past play out from the perspective of this person, from a person in the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he can kind of control it to a certain extent, but there's like little things that seem to happen where, okay, there's some weird stuff going on here.
Yeah, and then at the very end, we find out the Almighty is dead.
Yeah. So, for those of you who know Mistborn, Sanderson is has an interesting pantheon where each god is basically the source of one of the magic systems of this world.
Yeah, which explains a lot.
Yeah. And there's an interesting thing in terms of we have Dalinar who seems to be going nuts, and we see him, but we see through his eyes, we see these visions, and we see one of them was the Knights Radiant's recreants, because apparently the Knights Radiant betrayed humanity and went to the Voidbringers, but apparently what really happened was they all just dropped their swords and walked away.
Yeah.
Where there's something weird about their swords and their armor. It seems to glow for some reason. And
yet the shards and the shard plate, they don't glow anymore. So what the hell is going on with that?
Yeah, it seemed as though when the Knights Radiant dropped their shoved their shard blades into the ground and took their and disconnected from their shard blades, something happened, and they just walked away. And at this place, at this little fort, a bunch of people grab the shard blades and start killing each other, because that's what you do when a priceless artifact is.
And no, they have no idea that wait, do they know that the shards can do that, or no?
They've seen the Knights Radiant use shard blades.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
So they probably like grab these amazing, and also like shard blades are pretty. Like
yeah,
they
are
like really
very very pretty.
Yeah, they're described like works of art, like made flesh. That's how they're often described. Szeth is kind of odd because it's a simple sword. It's basically just a katana with a little bit of embroidery at the top, at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
But most others look like they're made of flame, or they've got a hook, like kind of wavy, or like Adolin's sword, where they're kind of like it's a long sword that's got a smooth back edge and then a curvy, kind of almost like a flamberge style flow to the other end.
Yeah.
And we see Adolin, like, he just wants to duel. He wants to participate in duels, but for like rankings and stuff. But he's only able to do it like for like matters of honor, or not for pleasure, because they don't want him
the codes say that in wartime you should not be dueling with your allies, and Dalinar keeps him to that until
he just says like, we'll keep Words of Radiance discussion for later.
We'll keep that until
later.
Until Words of Radiance, but
we have, and at one point, like, we have Dalinar is trying to work with the other High Princes, and when all of them turn him down, he turns to the one person left, his old buddy Sadeas, because Sadeas used to be buddies with Dalinar and Gavilar.
Yeah, they used to be good friends, and then the tower happens.
Well, I think there was a little bit of a falling out before then, where Sadeas sees Dalinar is getting soft.
I really, really like the dynamic between them two in Way of Kings. It's almost like, although the tower and stuff is wonderful, like payoff for like what is actually where does Sadeas stand kind of thing. It's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, it means that after that point there is no grey area with Sadeas. Or there is sort of, but like
there is no
you've now lost that really interesting dynamic.
There's no diplomacy anymore.
No, I really loved that little payoff for Adolin, where he finds out that they were working together.
I told you not to trust him.
I told you.
I told you not to trust a Greyjoy. I mean Sadeas.
I actually meant early on when they were turns out they were scheming together, and it was like, see, we're scheming together. It's like, well, you hate each other, and it's this like it's like a payoff for the introduction of that whole thing, if that makes sense. And
his whole explanation,
and from that point on,
his whole explanation for why he went along with what Dalinar was trying to do was like,
it's consistent, and
it's consistent, and it's really great. But at the same time,
But then you
now
realize,
I hate you even more.
But then you realize his perception of things is not the same as his colleagues.
Yeah,
and that's why he's doing something different.
Mm-hmm.
And partially it's like utilitarian. It's kind of almost a commentary on brutal utilitarianism versus Dalinar's more honor-based system.
Yeah, it is. It's like night and day.
Yeah, and then Sadeas and Dalinar kind of teaming up and start winning more battles, and Dalinar even saves Sadeas's life at one point during a battle.
Yeah, which is what makes the tower so impactful. It's, he saved your life, you bastard, and you are leaving him to die.
Yeah, basically what happens is the tower is a large plateau where a lot of chasm fiends go to pupate, and they see a gem. They find out that a gem heart has come up there, so they decide to make a run for it because they've never won a battle on the tower so far. So they're thinking that they'll be able to with 2 armies, that they can finally like get that benchmark.
Yeah.
Though one thing that we do want to notice is Elokar and Yasna's mom, Navani, who's
into Dalinar and has been into him since
for a long time. Yeah. Well, I was kind of thinking like she's kind of the I guess like kind of like Demi Moore, Monica Bellucci, but then again like she's tan. I guess like Tandy Newton, I guess. Maybe. But like she's like a really, really like she's described as like this smoking hot, like older woman.
Yeah,
she's kind of like the exact definition of a MILF.
Yes, she is. She's really, really hot.
Yeah, I think this is actually one of my my favorite pieces of artwork of Navani Kholin, where it's kind of like one of the interesting things about like she's a little bit too pale, honestly, because Alethi are described as like having really tan skin, and Yasna in let's see, in say this picture, like this is kind of probably a better version of like what Yasna
what
and
Navani looks like. Yeah,
and like just the Alethi in general look like, because the Alethi are more like they've got more like a Polynesian coloring. That's how it's described. Like even like I think in the Wikia, it's Kaladin is described as he has Polynesian coloring. Like he's got more like brownish skin, which I think is actually really neat.
Yeah.
Where it's like, no, it's like, and Adolin is kind of odd because he has kind of paler skin and blonde black hair, which is very different than most other people because his mom was an Outlander.
Yeah. And it's like, whatever.
Yeah. And we see a battle happen, and the coolest thing is like this is the actual an artistic rendering within the book itself of the Battle of the Tower.
That is really cool.
I love that illustration.
Yeah, that illustration is amazing.
Yeah. And so Sadeas comes in and with Dalinar, but the thing is Sadeas pulls back and while Dalinar is engaged on the plateau with the Parshendi, he leaves him alone and withdraws.
Yeah.
And
leaving behind Bridge 4.
Yeah, or at least like Bridge 4, like they like Kaladin is like it's kind of throughout the book he's kind of remarking on how much he hates Light Eyes. And like even in the beginning, he hates them like a lot. And we find out because of his backstory where his dad was trying to give him a better life by stealing the spheres and he wanted to give him an education, and when the old guy died and the new guy came in, he found Kaladin like thought that his dad was the hero in all this.
And his dad wasn't, but
his dad finagled and didn't really actually get the inheritance. And like the city lord cracks down on their family. There's a lot of
his dad is one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, Lirin is very interesting because he's clearly a good guy, but he does this one very, very morally questionable thing. And because of that morally questionable thing, both of his sons get shipped off.
Yeah, and his younger son dies because one of the commanders
decided to throw them.
Yeah,
decided to throw the kid, just throw the green boys into the meat grinder, just to get an advantage.
And I can sort of understand why he would do that, but it's like, dude, they are not trained for this. They should not be out here. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, ultimately, this book, I think, is a very, very interesting commentary on brutal utilitarianism versus benevolent leadership.
Yeah.
And it's very neat that like Sanderson is able to do it in such an organic way where he just demonstrates two different leadership styles, where you see Sadeas and Amaram versus Dalinar and Kaladin.
Yeah.
And the interesting bit is so Amaram was Kaladin's old commander. Like, he thought he was Kaladin worshipped the guy, thought he was the best Light Eyes ever, like the only good Light Eyes. And then Kaladin does something like that fight. I think is one of my favorite.
Yeah, Kaladin basically pulls off a freaking miracle.
Yeah, Dalinar, out of nowhere, an enemy shard bearer who seems unaffiliated with anybody just comes out, full shard bearer, full shard plate,
on a freaking horse.
Yeah, which the interesting thing about Roshar is that they don't have grass.
I love the grass.
Yeah, that's
they just the grass and plants, because of the nature of the high storms, they suck into the ground. Almost
I have a
like
theory that Sanderson just doesn't like grass because Mistborn.
I don't like grass. It's boring, it's rough, it's irritating, and it gets everywhere. I like rock.
I like rock and brown plants.
Yeah, and weird, you know what? You remember that? You remember the I kind of think of the plants in A Quest for Camelot almost.
In the forest? Yeah.
Yeah, where
definitely those. I definitely got a flavor of that.
Yeah. And when she touches it, it just sucks into the ground. And they have to create instead of having wheat fields, it's more like bulbs.
Yep.
And there's little artwork. There's actually artwork in the book that kind of allows you to see what a chull is. Chull, instead of cows, they have chulls, which are these giant crabs that they use as cattle. But it's just that's cool. And instead of dogs, they have these beetle dog hybrid things called axe hounds.
Yes.
They're pretty scary.
Yeah, they are.
They're pretty creepy. I'm like, okay. I love the whole what the chickens are so alien thing. I love that so much. It's these weird things called chickens.
Yeah. Yeah, and at one point we go to Shinovar, which has horses there, and also we have cows there. I think it's just weird. This is kind of an example of what an axe hound looks like, using actual artwork from the book.
Wow!
Is that one of
that's
the Shallon drawings, or
that's.
I think so, yeah.
That's actually kind of cute in an Eldritch Abomination way.
Yeah, they're sort of cute enough to be even more horrifying.
Yeah.
It's I would not want to scratch that behind its ear hole. Just
no,
saying.
I don't, but I can't look away.
Yeah, there's actually there's at one point we actually hear about an axe sound, which looks like a velociraptor. Like
oh my god. Pet dinosaurs.
It's like, oh god, seriously? Ugh.
Yeah, like that's like what it's described as, like like at one point, like they go whites the city lord, the thing that sparks the Kaladin getting tossed into the military is because the Lord's son dies because in a white spine attack when they go white spine hunting, and the Lord loses his leg, and so the Lord says, "All right, I want to get." He gets his revenge by throwing his nemesis's sons to the wolves. And yeah,
I'm hoping at some point in one of the books that Kaladin gets to go home.
Yeah. And the coolest thing, one interesting thing is that Amaram works for Sadeas. He's in the same province. Kaladin has lived under Sadeas for his whole life.
Yeah.
And then his life is influenced by Sadeas from almost the moment he's born until finally he decides to go to Dalinar. But before Dalinar, he kills a shard. Like when the shard bearers come to Amaram, Kaladin kills him, but Kaladin doesn't pick up the sword. Like, and he just says no. Like, here, give it to one of my friends. But unfortunately, Amaram doesn't like this.
No, and so his entire squad dies because of it, and he's sold into slavery. That's how he gets there.
As a mercy.
Yes, and it's like,
yeah,
why?
Mm-hmm. And it's I love that kind of, you know, you get all of the backstory chapters where he's like, his entire thing is, if I get one day, if I go to war, I can get a shard blade. A shard blade. I was like, where'd the word go? Yeah, I can get a shard blade. I can become a light eyes. Oh my god, yeah. And then the moment it comes, it's like,
no, I don't want this.
It's really want it. It's not McQueen.
It's like,
I need to make a gif of that. I don't want it.
Yeah, that does need to be a clip.
Yeah. But like, he keeps everybody who is a Dark Eyes wants a shard blade so that they can become a Light Eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But the moment Kaladin gets the chance to become a Light Eyes, he goes, no, this is not actually what I want. I want something else. I want to be able to... I think he just wants to go home.
I think another thing is like...
It's almost like a...
Oh, go for it. Sorry.
There's almost like a kind of systematic everything that he thinks as a child in the earlier backstory stuff is inverted, because like you've also got him idolizing not only Amaram but Sadeas as well, and it's like the only person he idolizes that in the end stays true is Dalinar. But even then, he spends... I love that little line where he goes, everyone's like praising Dalinar to high heaven in the bridge crew, and he was just like, will I ever stop hearing about him? And it's this wonderful little bit because you're like, you know Dalinar's a decent dude, and you're like, come on, Kaladin, you'd actually like him. You would like him, unlike everyone else. You would actually like him.
Yeah, and well, the thing is, his entire bridge crew, I think, comments on how he's like Dalinar.
Mm.
Yeah,
but he's like, no, I'm not. He's Light Eyes. For God's sake, stop it.
Yeah,
and we also, it's just like, and the death of his brother like makes it so that he doesn't want to go home. Like, he doesn't want to ever face his dad.
Yeah, but I hope in one book he eventually has to, so that he can confront that, because that's part of the healing process.
I mean, on a purely like looking at it, going, well, why'd you plan that? Unless he does go home eventually, you know.
Yeah.
It's like I can't tell you what happens when he gets there, but it's like he doesn't want to go back, therefore he's probably gonna.
Yeah, it's like it's probably not gonna be in any of the books that are out already. He's probably gonna get there in book 5 or maybe book 6. I don't know.
It's
all right.
Yeah, further down the line, I reckon.
Let's put down. All right, I'll put that down as a prediction. Kaladin is going to go back to Hearthstone in book 5. I will put that down.
I said book 5 or book 6.
Book 5 or 6. Alrighty, we will put that down.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
I think book 5 makes more sense out of the two.
Yeah.
On the basis
out of the
that
two,
if
book
it's the
5
end of
makes
like
more sense.
If it's the end of like
his arc,
an arc,
yeah,
then that feels like the right place to put it. But
yeah.
Anyway, but we see Dalinar like on the ropes, and he's fighting against a shard bearer who's as good as he is, which is not usual, because we've seen Dalinar fight in a couple of things. Like he at one point runs through, like, is the best fighter in
his rescue of Sadius is one
as
of
well as,
the
like, other things, like
best
where he's
sequences that show that it had just how good he is.
Also the Chasm Fiend fight where he grabs the Chasm Fiend's foot with his hands and stops it.
It's like, wow, Dalinar, are you sure you're not Clark Kent?
Yeah.
There's the reason this guy is known as warrior. Like, he's pretty ballsy.
Yeah. And, like, they even call him, like, he is the Blackthorn.
Yes.
So why do you think he has that name? Since it's a very distinct and interesting name that I don't.
I mean, I kind of always took it as sort of like not quite Black Sheep, but like the darker brother. Like, you know, in the sense that he kind of is as well. Like the Gavilar was like the straight and narrow.
Gavilar's good at politics.
He's the straight and narrow brother. He's the older one. He became the king, and Dalinar's is his warrior bodyguard type brother. You know, the protector kind of.
Yeah.
And I kind of took it as like that. Often that's like the black is the color that you give to that, but the thorn part, I don't know. I'm not sure about that bit.
Thorn. He's a thorn in a lot of people's lives. I think that's where thorn comes from. Personally,
he's quite prickly.
Yeah, he is.
He's a thorny bugger in many ways.
Yeah.
But then Kaladin and his bridge crew turn around and run to use. Actually, side carry comes back.
Yes.
But
I figured that was foreshadowing for this.
Yeah. Another thing that we forgot to mention was Kaladin and the others actually like figure out a way to like protect themselves in a way that makes the Parshendi freaking pissed.
Yes, they absolutely
they basically
hate it.
They figure out like they get given a parchment called Shen, and we also forgot Lopin.
Yeah, Lopin. Oh my god, Lopin.
Favorite. Well, I have lots of favorites, but Lopin's one of them.
What do you call a one-armed Hadesian? Me.
Oh. I actually, here's a weird thing. Although I do love Michael Kramer, I don't want to listen to the audiobooks because I have Lopin's voice in my head so clearly that I don't want another version. It's like I know what he sounds like in my head and it's perfect. Don't want any other.
How does he sound to you? Because I can do a fair impression.
I can't do an impression of it. It's just pure.
Well, Goncho, what do you want to do? Doing today? I think I'll be. That's actually the impression he actually uses. a kind of a Cockney accent.
It's not far off what I've got, except he kind of does the rather than the on his A's in my head. I don't know. I've got a personally quite a weird accent, so it's kind of like a weird extreme version of mine, probably. But
maybe.
Lopez like, well, Goncho, what are you? I'm gonna be happy in the by carrying water.
Yeah, it's like they give and it's like I love how Kaladin just finds ways to make the people that he's given useful, even Shen, and it's like, and he goes out of his way to accommodate Shen, even though he knows that this is gonna make him uncomfortable.
Yeah, and actually he figures out, Shen's a Parshman. These are wild Parshmen. Basically, they cut the carapace armor and grab some bones from these Parshendi corpses and make it into armor and use it during bridge runs.
Yeah, I think
it pisses the Parshendi royally because they are really against body defilement.
Yeah,
I mean, you would be.
I think what happens off screen is that Kaladin takes Shen aside and he apologizes and then explains why he does that, why everything is done.
Yeah, I think that he does. I think that he does because Kaladin seems like he's that kind of guy.
Yeah, he is. Guy. It's like, I'm sorry that we have to do this, but in order for us to survive, this is what we need to do. And Shen goes, I'm not okay with that because you're defiling the dead, but I understand why you are doing it.
And
I also quite like how it plays into quite neatly into the whole escape plan stuff. It's a nice little way of them, because I the little detail of okay, so this is the story you will tell, or I will tell, is this is what happened and how they this is what happened to the bridge. It's it doesn't happen. They end up going to the tower.
They choose to go back.
But it's really interesting how that stuff, not only does it help the plot in terms of it helps them, achieve what they're doing, but it's it adds a bit of flavor to a choice that they end up not making, but you believe that they're going to make it potentially because it's got layers that have been set up, which I quite like that. I thought that was nice, quite neat. That
there was a lot to keep track of in this book, but that's fine. I love books that do that. And I think
Sansa's very good with threads.
Yeah, I think my absolute favorite moment in the book is when Dalinar gives Sadeas his shard blade for every single bridgeman. Every single one.
Yeah.
That is by far Dalinar's crowning moment of awesome.
Yeah.
I love that it's from Kaladin's perspective as well, and he's already I've given up already. See, that's another light I see. And it is wait, what?
Wait, what the hell did you just do?
So basically, the thing that is so interesting is that Kaladin is almost out of Stormlight. He's kind of broken down by when he's running, he gets injured and he's laid down by his friends and they're saying, we'll finish the mission, buddy, just sleep. And then he has the flashback of his little brother Tien dying, and then Syl says, I'm not a Windspren, I'm Honor-Spren. And he says, I will protect those who cannot protect themselves. And
which is another oath.
Yeah, and the absolute badass he is, he grabs a spear and runs into an army of Parshendi by himself over the bridge and clears the way for Dalinar's men to get through.
And not only that, but he takes on the Parshendi Shardbearer
and manages to
save Dalinar's life. It's absolutely amazing.
And how many like light-eyed officers, including Adeline and Dalinar, does he like just give orders to, and then just like, huh? But then they do it anyway, and it's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah,
it's like
has such a power.
Yeah, he yells at Adolin, "Get on your dang horse, Light Eyes."
Yeah, get on your horse and get out of here, because otherwise these people are going to stay here and protect you. What you need to do is get out of here so that you can protect them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he virtually promotes one of them.
No,
and it's
I have to go after my dad. And Kaladin's like, I've got this, kid. Go.
Well, actually, Aelin's older than Kaladin. Which
yeah, but that's basically what he says.
But it's interesting how their life experiences kind of frames them in your head. I don't know about everyone else, but
younger.
I see Kaladin as so much
like
more.
Kaladin's
he's got so
older.
much more life that he's lived almost, whereas Adelin's still like kind of he's still getting to the life experience bit.
Yeah.
And
it feels like Kaladin's older.
Yeah.
Even though he's not.
And then when they go
I think
back,
maybe a year or two younger.
Yeah. About 2 to 3 years younger.
I think he's supposed to be 23. I think
Aelin's supposed to be 23, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they go back to Sadeas's camp, and Sadeas is like totally saying like the Parshendi overwhelmed it, like they were like
and it's like down. Nope.
And then like Navani says draws a prayer glyph and burns it. And then like Dalinar and the rest come back.
That instant.
And like
they are seen over the horizon. And it's like
and he's like, and Dalinar like just tries to argue for the bridge crews, and Sadeas is like, no amount of money is going to make me, because like it's clear that like he's going to murder all of Bridge 4. He's like, I am done with this. You are all dead.
It's very obvious.
That he's
and
like,
the way
I'm quite valuable, but there is one thing that he has lusted for most of his life, and that is a shard blade. He already has the plate, but he wanted the blade. And so Dalinar says, I will take all of them in exchange for my I will take all of them in exchange for my blade.
Yeah. And it's like what he says to Kaladin after that is, I have gained 1,000 priceless lives for one priceless sword. I think I came out ahead.
Which I think is a really like neat like inversion of Sadeas, where Sadeas is just he's like looking at that sword like it's the hottest woman in town.
Yeah, it's like
he finally gets the sword.
Yeah.
And
yeah, and that quote is why Dalinar, even above Kaladin, is my favorite character.
Yeah, I love Dalinar. He is my favorite. And the neatest thing is, like, this isn't really a spoiler, but his flashback chapters are an Oathbringer. Like, that's why so like we get to see his life story. One interesting thing about
that it'd be him because the sword name, but
yeah. The interesting thing about Dalinar is one neat thing is he doesn't remember his wife's name or face, and whenever he hears it, it's just a sound.
It actually reminds me of Bleach. Before Shinigami can hear their sword's name. It's the same kind of thing. And after that, Kaladin is brought into Dalinar's personal guard, and he says, "Hey, train up your men. I want this. My army is very depleted. Turn your bridge crews into a fighting force." Yeah, and the first part of words is Kaladin figuring out how to do that. Mm-hmm. And no, that's not a spoiler because
it's just
in the first freaking
it's just a continuation of the ending of it. And then we have something very interesting. So throughout the book we've had references to the heralds and names, and one of the names and there are two names that are in reference to the heralds: Yezereza or Yezrian, and Kalek. Two characters that we see in the very beginning in relation to the Oath Pact.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the Oath Pact is?
The Oath Pact is the oath that the Knights Radiant take. And, let's see.
It seems as though these heralds, they left one of their number behind.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a chapter from Wit's perspective where he says, "What do men value most?" And it's this just interesting philosophical discussion with two idiots.
And it went right over their heads.
He's like, wisdom? But what if wisdom is not listened to by idiots? Or money? What if there's someone who can't be bought? The thing that men value most is timing. Just as a dude with a giant shard blade walks in.
No, he breaks down the door. And then walks in.
And wants in. And he just says, "I am Telenalat Elin, Herald of War." But after he puts his head to his hands, and then he collapses. And
a little late, dude.
Yeah.
That was my reaction. My reaction was, you're a couple of years too late. Because they're already at war.
One interesting thing is that Kalek in the beginning is talking about the hooks and pincers, almost like they're getting sent to hell in between desolations. He doesn't want to go back, and they left this one Talon or Telenalat there. And there's some interesting things he can do with it. So, and the interesting thing is, even though this Telenalat guy has a shard blade, he doesn't have light eyes like the rest of them.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I noticed in the very first chapter there were, I think, 13 blades?
Just 10.
Yeah, 10. 10, because, yes, 10.
So there's actually I actually have some really good artwork. I actually found some really good artwork of that, right here, where we see all of the swords.
Yeah.
Aren't those pretty?
Yes, they are. Those look really nice.
Yeah. And do you think that, that sword, do you think that, with that little clue that, these two swords don't change their master's eye color, do you think that they could be related? That Zeth's sword and this guy's sword might be related?
Yes, actually. I do think that. I do. Yes.
Mm-hmm. What do you think could be the relation? Since it seems like this shard, what do you think the difference could be? Why do you think that they're significant?
Well, one of the reasons why it's significant is because they don't change the bearer's eyes, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
The length of the blade was not commented on, I don't think. But could it be that their blades are of similar length? Like all the heralds might have had shard blades that were
this
shorter.
Sword is described as long. This sword is described as a massive spike. That's kind of the description. This is actually an artwork of Telenalat Elin, the herald, and his sword, from religious iconography within the book.
It looks like it's shorter than
a lot of other sharp blades. like this is kind of like an example of like kind of like not quite like it's not quite to scale. Like the perspective is slightly askew, but that's Dalinar versus Oathbringer, which is like almost like 1-for-1. Like I think like just like it's like up to the top of his head. It's a huge sword.
Yeah, it's huge. Whereas all of the Zeth's sword and the Herald's sword looks like they're
kind of shorter.
Yeah, they're shorter, which is why I think, well, I'm starting to think that the Herald's the Herald's God damn it.
Shard blades.
Yeah, the Herald's shard blades are all different because they're shorter by some amount, and they're not as ornamental, I want to say. I think they're all plainer.
Okay.
Not sure by how much, but they're plain.
Well,
compared to a regular one.
Well, I think we will have to conclude it there. I think,
unfortunately,
unfortunately, but we've talked for nearly 3 hours about this book.
Yeah, we have.
I mean, scratch the surface a little bit, you know.
Yeah, of a 1,300-page book.
Yeah, we could probably go all day
Probably.
and not repeat ourselves.
Yeah, we didn't repeat ourselves at all. Like,
no,
we just because there's so much material to cover, and maybe we'll talk like theories another time. But anyway,
world building a little bit more as well at some point.
Yeah.
Like the the cultures and stuff.
Yeah, we'll have to do maybe we'll do like a world building in Stormlight Archive discussion sometime.
Yes.
But anyway,
I'd love that.
Anyway, thank you all for coming, and we will see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.